Okay, we're back on the record. Go ahead, Mr. Gibson.
Ms. Martin, in your testimony yesterday, and you said that you fled after Ms. Broussard picked you up on the street where you were drunk with Ezekiel, and that she put you on a Greyhound bus and you fled to Tucson, Arizona to meet up with somebody that you knew named Don. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And that you lived in various places in the Tucson, or there was another city you said a couple of hours away. How many places did you live in Tucson or the other place?
I think we went all over it yesterday, but I'll try and recount it again. I started out at Dawn and April's apartment with their 5-year-old daughter. A month later, I was bumped out of there. I went to a domestic violence shelter for 2 weeks. Ezekiel was being bullied. I was not allowed to handle it, so I chose to leave. I lived on a fifth wheel on Maria Sepper's property for 3 days when she found me an opportunity to work on an organic farm in Tubac. I lived there for 1 month before I said no thank you to the religious cult. I lived and worked in a home in Tucson for 3 weeks, packing it up for the owner, and in return I got plane tickets and $200 cash and a place to live for 2 weeks. And then I flew back, and when I landed, I stayed with Ms. Broussard.
And you were in the Arizona area of Tucson and the other city for how long? How many months?
I think 3.
I mean, you're rapidly going through them, but I believe that I counted 6 different places. Would that be?
Whatever, I trust your math.
6 places in a couple of months.
Don's apartment, the DV shelter, the fifth wheel, the organic farm, and the home packing up. 5 places, according to my notes.
Were you able to work?
Is that accurate? Don's apartment,
Yes.
DV
Yes, it is.
shelter, the fifth wheel, the organic farm, and the packing home in Tucson.
That's correct, Your
Did
Honor.
I forget one?
No, I don't think so. But I'm tired, so I trust you more than me right now.
We're all tired, Your Honor.
Interesting.
So one of those places was living in what you described as a yurt.
Yes.
Could you tell the court what a yurt is in general and what the yurt that you lived in looked like? What was it made out of? What was it constructed of?
Yeah, it's a state-of-the-art material. This is the second time I've lived in a yurt. It's basically a round tent with a wooden platform. It has wooden slats around it, and then it has a domed roof with a clear dome at the top so you can lay in there and see the stars. This particular yurt was 20-footer, and then the outside is covered in a canvas that was designed by NASA to radiate the heat so that it is self-heating on the inside. It is the coolest giant mobile tent, and the state of Oregon has purchased 50 of them and put them in parks all over the state.
Does the state of Oregon have the weather temperature that Tucson, Arizona does?
No, they're actually more suited for Tucson.
I see. So was there any kind of protection against mosquitoes?
Well, it was better in the yurt, but it was a 165-acre organic farm. It's kind of hard to get away from mosquitoes when you farm.
So there were mosquitoes.
And Ezekiel was covered with bites when he landed.
Ah, that's correct. That was my next question. It is true then that Ezekiel had bug bites all over his body.
Oh, yeah.
And did you get any treatment for the mosquito bites all over his body?
Other than natural remedies like baking soda to take off the itch and that kind of thing.
Did you know that when he arrived back at Portland, he was constantly scratching and itching?
Yeah.
Why didn't you get him treatment for his bites?
It wasn't necessary. We've all been bitten by mosquitoes. Rarely does someone die from it. They itch. Poison ivy itches. I didn't deem it necessary. Your Honor, his camp is passing him notes. I thought we said that wasn't going to happen.
She's got witnesses in the courtroom. Is that?
You've had witness.
Okay, I've asked, I don't know how many times
No, somebody
now.
just sent me a note that there are
Okay,
witnesses.
I've asked several times. So the people in the first row, please sit in the second row. The people in the first row, please sit in the second row. There'll be no more handing notes to Mr. Gibson. This is his case. He needs to argue it.
And I object to having her witnesses that have yet to testify sitting in the courtroom.
Okay, that's one thing at a time. All right, so you're requesting that her witnesses be excluded until they testify?
Yes, I
Okay,
do.
that request is granted, so anyone that's going to testify has to remain outside until it's their turn.
He needs to remain right there, or he can go get a cup of coffee, or what's the rule? Just sit right out there?
I think he's capable of handling that.
So you didn't get, so your answer is that you did not get treatment for
Is
his,
that Mr. Patrick
McKeckern.
McKeckert?
The only I asked because I don't think we'll be calling him until after lunch, and I was wanting him to have the freedom to go get something to eat. But it's your courtroom, Your Honor.
It depends when you plan on calling people also.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get to him until after lunch. So we still have me and
Okay.
Stacy.
Continue, please.
so you would admit that you live a rather transient lifestyle in that you move a lot.
When you're fleeing domestic violence, that's kind of what comes with the process.
How many places have you lived in the past 8 or 9 years?
Oh, God, I don't know.
10, 15, 20, 50, 100? How many?
Well, if we're including every time I fled you and went and lived with a friend, I can't count them. Yeah, let's go with dozens.
So you were fleeing from me when you were in Arizona, when you moved 5 or 6 different times, and I was
just
2,000
dealing with
miles
the
away?
consequences of the domestic
No.
violence I left Oregon to deal with.
Okay, here we go again. We want to talk over each other for the third day in a row, which I'm not going to tolerate. If you two want to continue in this type of dialogue, I'll schedule a hearing in the future. We're going to come back. I'm not going to have to do this every day with you two. If you cannot conduct yourselves in a civil and a professional manner, which is required in a courtroom, I am going to cease this hearing. Do you understand, Mr. Gibson?
I understand
Do
completely.
you understand, Ms. Martin?
May I ask a
Do you
question?
understand what I just said?
Yes.
He asks the question, you answer the question. Neither one of you talks over the other again today. Is that understood?
It's clear and
Yes, Your
understood.
Honor.
Continue.
Ms. Martin, don't you flee to shelters because it's a way to have other people take care of you?
Is that a question?
That is a
Stop.
question.
Okay?
No.
And I want your questions to be phrased in one thought at a time, not compounded with 3 or 4.
Okay.
And then I expect her to answer that one question only. The question again, please.
Do you flee to shelters because it's a way to have other people take care of you?
No.
Do you manipulate the system because you haven't worked in a real job for years?
No.
When was the last time you had a job like most everyone else that pays you money?
Well, I've received cash and or cash value from every job I've worked because in lieu of rent, which is cash, and value, I have negotiated a deal to work on one property after another where sometimes I got cash, sometimes I got, access to the property, sometimes I got food. So I have negotiated how I get paid for what I do the way I want to.
So the last time that you had a job that pays you money was when?
I would say, other than proceeds from my book and those kind of things, it was the pack-up job in Tucson where I got cash and cash to buy plane tickets for my efforts as well as room and board.
So 2 years ago would be?
Yeah.
Okay. You said that you get cash from your sale of your book. Is your book on sale now?
Yes. It's on the hard copies on sale on Amazon. There are 6 ebook copies, different versions that are available through a site called Smashwords, and I'm giving away a free PDF copy on the website, eatingmywaytoheaven.com.
How much money have you earned from selling of your books currently?
Not much. I've been busy dealing with you for 10 years, a couple of grand.
Can you prove that?
Not today, but it's provable.
Really? There was a Amazon Book Club report or where they read the different books that are on there and they give their opinions on what it was about. Isn't it true that the report on your book said that your book was an expose on somebody that had some serious psychiatric problems?
Could have.
Could have?
It is an expose on somebody recovering from deep abuse, which comes with problems. I've never denied that. It is an expose of my life as an incest survivor and a person who nearly died from an eating disorder.
You said that in your testimony yesterday that I performed an exorcism on Ezekiel in the bathroom in the dark with the door closed reading the Bible. Can you explain how I was able to do that?
You walked in the room, I guess. I mean, I have to hypothesize because I wasn't there. What I witnessed when I opened the door was that our 4-year-old son was sitting on the toilet in the dark. That bathroom was about as big as the little space I'm sitting in now. So you were forced in your bigness to be standing right in front of him. You had a Bible in your hand, and you're rambling on about demons and spirits and Lucifer leave this child, and that's my remembrance. Your
testimony yesterday said that I was reading from a Bible in the dark with the bathroom with the door closed. How was I able to do that?
That's a good question. I don't know if there's a nightlight in the bathroom. I don't remember.
Is it more accurate that you just invented that?
No. It could be accurate that there was some lighting in the bathroom, but it was dark. But yes, I can admit there's a bauble in that.
Yes, there is. Did you know that exorcisms are a Catholic ritual performed by priests?
I don't know much about it, but I've seen the movie The Exorcist.
Well, you claimed yesterday that I performed an exorcism on my child. Like I asked you, did you know that exorcisms are a Catholic ritual performed by Catholic priests?
Yes or no?
No.
Do you believe that I am a Catholic priest?
Yes or no?
No.
There is a report that says that Ezekiel has dental problems. Does he still have tooth decay?
No, he's had a lot of dental work at my expense. Well, actually, I want to amend that, Your Honor. He's had a lot of dental care thanks to the state of Oregon that's trying to collect my child support because they spent a lot on Ezekiel.
Didn't you breastfeed Ezekiel until he was 6 years old?
Nope. I breastfed until he was just about 4, as the midwives had trained me to do.
Then why is it that a dentist told you to stop having Ezekiel on the nipple because the sugar lactose in your breast milk was decaying his teeth? Do you remember that conversation with the dentist?
I do not.
Are you still breastfeeding Ezekiel now?
No.
Aren't you engaged in a kind of sick sexual perversion when you continue to breastfeed Ezekiel way beyond the time that's normal for most kids, even if it's 4 or 5 years old?
I spent a lot of money to hire a team of professional midwives, and I had 4 of them, and I went to classes for 6 months. He ended up not participating in that program, although he was supposed to. And they trained me that although because of religion and things in this country that it's not all that greatly accepted here, but indigenous cultures around the world nurse their children a long time. These women had nursed their own children until they were 4, except that it's not the same between like 2 and 4. It's not like every 3 hours I'm picking up the child. It's if he has a meltdown and you need to help him shift gears, or if this is a pattern for how he sleeps at night, which I nursed Ezekiel to sleep for 4 years, and that he's never had problems sleeping, that this can continue till about 4 to help the child stay nurtured and connected. And then they told me not to wean him till he was ready. But I'm under the gun from a psychotic religious man, so I chose to wean him sooner than he wanted to because it was just too abusive for him what you were doing.
Objection, Your Honor. There's never been a diagnosis of me being psychotic ever, anywhere, anytime.
Sustained.
So you're denying that you breastfed Ezekiel till the age of 5 or 6.
Totally.
Now, you said that you filed a restraining order to keep me away from his school, correct?
No, I don't believe. Yes, the restraining order that Karen Scheinberg granted indicated, per her request, that you not be allowed within 100 yards of the school, 100 yards of me, 100 yards where Ezekiel lives his life. That was Commissioner Scheinberg's decision, not mine.
Well, you said that you made sure that at least 5 school people, principals, teachers, and others, were told by you that I was not to come to the school, even to talk to them about my son. Is that correct?
Yes, I was required by law to take that restraining order to the school officials so that they wouldn't accidentally release him to you against a court order. So once again, it was Commissioner Scheinberg that indicated that would be my responsibility.
Weren't you, I mean, let's just be real. What are you really trying to hide?
I think I'm pretty transparent. I wrote my life story and I take a beating for it in public.
You wrote your life story?
I'm sorry, you interrupted me. What did you ask?
Did you write your story in a book called Eating My Way to Heaven, your life story that you're testifying to now?
I think we're clear on that, yes.
Isn't it true that the reason that you went out of your way to make sure that 5 or 6 people in the Beckman School would make sure that I could not come on that campus for any reason whatsoever is to veil the fact that I might ask prying questions about molestation with Ezekiel and what they knew? Isn't that true?
No one ever said you couldn't call Zach Dietz or Charlotte Morris or Angela Wassam or Inga Rosenauer. You just weren't allowed to show up there, sir.
So you're denying that you're trying to veil and cover up
I'm denying
any child protective services?
It's answered. It's answered. She's denying it.
Okay, so the next question is, didn't Child Protective Services make some inquiries at the Bachman School about the child molestation? Is that true?
I have no personal knowledge of that, but I've heard testimony about it.
You've heard testimony of that? So was it your agenda to befriend yourselves with those people that might be inquired by Child Protective Services to keep them from finding out the truth, the red flag thing?
All 5 of them will tell you I had a relationship with them from the moment Ezekiel attended their school, not a year and a half later when you're making accusations in criminal court.
Well, let's get to that. I'm glad that you brought that up. You said you volunteered a lot at Beckman School. How often did you volunteer?
I committed to once a week for an hour and a half to Angela Wassam in the 1st grade, and I had already served that same role. And lots of parents do this. That's how they float the boat with little money. There's a team of us. The teacher organizes their own volunteer team, and I had done that for Inga. I really wanted to do it again for Inga, but now his teacher is Angela Wassam. I committed to an hour and a half a week on Wednesdays, but if I couldn't make that time frame, I would let her know, because there's a box for parent volunteers, and you go, you take the box, you go to the office, you Xerox, you copy, you do whatever. And so I worked my hour and a half for her when I could, once a week, and then I also had a relationship with the woman we call Grandma Mary, who basically helps train all the parent volunteers and runs the administrative office. And I loved her so much, I ended up volunteering an extra hour or 2 a week with her in the main office where Charlotte and Zach and the gang hangs out. So I had relationships with these people from the time he entered kindergarten.
So what you're testifying to is that not only did you have, as you said, an hour and a half a week there, but maybe 3 or 4 other hours at that school for a total of maybe 6, 7, 8 hours a week?
Yes, I spent a lot of time with these people.
And a lot of time there, correct?
You bet. My son went to school there.
Were you in the classroom with the other children other than Ezekiel? Were there other children in the classroom with Ezekiel when you were volunteering?
Yeah, at least 20 at any given moment.
20 children? Mm-hmm. What exactly did you do as a volunteer?
In the classroom, the first year for Inga, she asked me to be the parent. The children have to have reading assessments and this assessment and that assessment. And she asked me to be the parent that actually worked with the children one-on-one. I was in the classroom where she was present, but I was taking the children out of her care one at a time to assess reading skills, this, that, and the other. And I did that nonstop. And that time I had to commit. I'd be there on Friday every time at 10 o'clock and do this job until 11. And in the first grade, when I negotiated with Angela Wassam what my volunteering would be like, I asked her to take me out of the classroom because I wanted Ezekiel a chance to create his own relationships without mommy being a factor. So in first grade, all I did was clerical stuff in the office.
Let's talk about that. Do you think that the other children were jealous that you were in the classroom at the time, all the time with Ezekiel?
Oh, lots of parents. I mean, let's see. Inga had probably 21 parent volunteers that entered her circle every single week. Angela, this is the only way these overworked teachers can get everything done. Charlotte Morris can confirm all of that. But no, lots of kids had mommies and daddies. There was dads that were parent volunteers. I was thrilled to see them there.
But you weren't thrilled to see me there.
Move on, please. Move on.
Did you breastfeed Ezekiel at the school?
Never. He was 6 by then.
You said Ezekiel was having difficulties with other children, bullying and teasing him at school.
I said that. Zach Dietz confirmed it. Charlotte will confirm it. Angela will confirm it. Inga will confirm it.
So you've got a lot of people that will confirm that he, in fact, was being bullied at school.
Of course.
To the point where you decided to take him out of state illegally to the Judge Alex show.
We've discussed this over and over that...
Yes or no?
Yes or no?
Well, wait a minute. I don't want to say yes. I didn't take him illegally. I had your permission to travel.
And it's a no, right?
No. I'm sorry, I'm a little tired, Your Honor.
So you notified the court that you were taking Ezekiel to California to appear on the Judge Alex show?
That wasn't my obligation based on the court order.
What's the answer then?
No.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. It's important to me I get all this straight.
Did it ever occur to you that your inability to let go of Ezekiel and wean yourself off of him would cause Ezekiel to be teased and bullied? Called names like sissy, mama's boys, and all kinds of things.
No.
Never occurred to you?
No.
So you think that having a mother in the school around other children had nothing to do with those children teasing him and bullying him?
Well, since you're so focused on this, I'd like to clarify that...
Yes or no?
Yes or no?
No.
Isn't your inability to let him grow without your constant hovering over him, either on the nipple or in the classroom, the genesis of his anger, resentment, and combative personality against you and Patrick, and has nothing to do with me?
No. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, it's not.
Ms. Cohen is on the line.
Thank you.
Ready to testify.
Do you want me to step over there, or I'm okay here, or what?
We're okay here.
Okay.
So can we?
Could we, before her testimony, could we take a 5-minute break? I wanted to consult with.
No.
He's out all night, Your Honor.
I don't.
I'm sorry.
No.
Okay.
We're continuing. Put her through, please.
Oh, may I get my notes for Stacy?
Yes, you may. She on?
The phone hasn't done anything.
courtroom.
Okay, great. Here.
Ms. Cohen?
Yes.
Hello, is this Stacy Cohen?
Yes.
This is Judge Ruley from the Clark County Superior Court in Vancouver, Washington.
Yes. Hello, sir.
Ms. Martin's indicated that she's calling you as a witness to testify in this case.
Yes.
All right, Ms. Martin's going to ask you questions, and then at the conclusion of her questions, Mr. Gibson has the right to ask you questions also. Do you understand the procedure?
Yes, I do.
Do you have any questions?
No, sir, I do not.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the whole truth, so help you God then?
Yes, I do.
All right. Ms. Martin, your witness.
Hi, Stacy. Thank you for doing this. How long have you known me, Ms. Cohen?
I'm not able to hear you well. I'm sorry.
How long have you known me?
Oh gosh, I've known you since about 1980 something.
Can you hear me clearly now?
Yes, very.
Okay. How long have you known Patrick McEachern?
Patrick, I have known through my ex-husband. They worked together, and that was in the early 1980s.
How long have you known Wardell Gibson?
Only I met him through you, and that was a little fuzzy on the times, but that was in. Gosh, I don't recall exactly.
Do you know where I was living when I met Mr. Gibson?
You were living at my home, Southeast Portland.
Okay, great. Have you ever personally witnessed Mr. Gibson being violent?
Yes, I have. There were a number of times on the phone with him screaming and yelling. I could hear
Objection.
it
She
through the
said
phone.
witnessing.
And also in person.
Ms.
Wait a minute.
Ms. Cohen? Mr.
Excuse
Gibson?
me?
This is the judge. Mr. Gibson has the right to object during the question-answer process. So he just raised an objection, and if you can hear him, you need to stop what you're saying to allow me an opportunity to rule on the objection. I
Okay,
don't
I'm
know if
sorry.
you heard him or not, but he raised
No.
he raised an objection, so I need to hear the objection. So give me a moment. What is the objection, Mr. Gibson?
Well, she said that she overheard a phone conversation, that I never talked to Stacy Cohen on the phone about this, so it has to be completely hearsay. I object.
The
It said
objection's
witnessed.
Okay. The objection's overruled, Mr. Gibson. A person can witness through any of the senses: seeing, hearing, tasting. It's not in a specific term of only saying. So the question is, how does she know it was Mr. Gibson on the phone?
Fair question. How did you know it was me on the phone, Stacy?
I know your voice very well. It's a very specific voice, a very, very well-known voice. And Denise was speaking with you, and I overheard your loud voice coming over the phone. And then she had also at times handed me the phone so that I could witness it. Sometimes she couldn't stay on the phone and just listen to you. And if she did hang up, then we were afraid that you would come over. And, here we were, two women alone. You would threaten to come over to the house, so we would hang on the phone.
All right.
There was another time in person.
The objection is overruled. You're allowed to continue to testify.
Thank you. There was also one very specific event when I was over at the house with Denise, and we were walking down the stairway from the second floor.
Can you tell us whose house? We were in what house? Whose house?
This was Mr. Gibson's house.
Thank you.
And we were walking down the stairway to leave. There had been an argument, and we were leaving the home, and Denise went down the stairs first, and I continued down after her. Mr. Gibson then ran from behind me, pushed me into the wall, and kicked the door in. He kicked it so hard that the door swung, and it actually broke the whole door frame off. And I was really afraid and scared, and I, just said, "What is going on? What is this about?" And he said, "I didn't mean to hurt you. I wanted to hurt her."
Objection. This is a complete fabrication lie. That's never happened.
Absolutely
That's not a
not.
proper legal objection, Mr. Gibson. Like I told you, you have the right to question the witness when she's done, but
Okay.
the objections
All right.
must be on a legal basis other than your opinion and her opinion.
Okay?
Okay, would you rephrase that again, Ms. Cohn, as to what happened?
Denise Martin was walking down the stairs to leave the home. I followed her down the stairs. Mr. Gibson came running from behind me. I was shoved into the wall, and he kicked at the doorway. At the bottom of the stairs, there was a door. He kicked it, hoping, so it swung open. It totally came off of the door frame. It tore. And I jumped up scared, and I said, "What is going on? What are you doing?" And he said, "I didn't mean to hurt you." He said, "I wanted to hurt her." From then on, anytime I got a call from Denise, I just pulled up out front, and she came out, and we got in the car and left. Other times, she called me crying that they were fighting again, and there were a number of times where she was ducking and hiding into bushes, and I would find her along the road. This happened a number of times before she was pregnant, and also even while she was pregnant.
Stacy, how many times would you say you have come to get me because I was afraid to remain in Mr. Gibson's home?
Even at an easy guess, I would say 15 times, 20 times.
Okay?
It was constant.
Okay. Let's get to the point where I am carrying a child. Did you visit me in a shelter when I was 4 months pregnant?
Yes, I did. I believe I even spoke with some of the other women that were somebody on staff that was there at the time. And that was on, I believe, Yamhill Street. It was across from a park. And you weren't allowed to stay there during the day. I remember you had to go out and walk around. You couldn't even stay in the shelter till the evening time, so it was very hard on you. And I believe you were about 4 months pregnant, and you were there for a couple of months through the holiday season.
When, let's see, did you ever witness personally Mr. Gibson claiming my child was not his?
Yes, I did.
Who did he think the child might belong to?
At one point, he believed it was Patrick McEachran's child. And then I also heard him blame it on, I don't remember his last name, but Thomas. And another time we were at the farm of Chuck Danner. And there was some problem up there, and he was saying, "I don't know, it could even be Chuck's." So there were a number of people that, when it was convenient, he would blame it on somebody else. Was
Mr. Fahey ever one of the contenders?
Not to my knowledge.
The mailman? Okay, when I was getting close to my due date, and we're talking real close, week 2, do you recall where I was living?
You were in my home again.
Okay. Do you recall how Mr. Gibson was invited to the birth?
Yes. Even though things weren't the best at that time, you wanted him to have his rights as a father, and you really wanted him to be involved and invited him, told him that if he could behave, you were very happy to have him there for the birth at the hospital.
In the 24 hours that you and Mr. Gibson helped me labor a child out of my womb, did he behave?
Yes, he was wonderful.
Okay. Do you have any personal knowledge about the state of Oregon being involved in my pregnancy?
Yes.
Please tell us.
I believe that started when you began to see the doctors, a midwife, and I remember them coming up to the hospital as soon as the child was born. They were there, and they needed to check the baby and check with both of you and make sure that everything was okay. And they also wanted to come by the home, with my home where you were living. And they said they had to come as soon as you got home. I know you hadn't rested, you were exhausted, and tried to make another appointment with them. And they said no, they needed to see where the baby was going and what all the circumstances were at the home. So they came that afternoon when just as we arrived home.
Were you present during the meeting between myself and whoever showed up?
Yes, you and I sat right on the couch in the living room.
Can you tell the court what you deemed happened in that meeting?
They were really concerned about the welfare of the child because of the violence between Denise Martin and Wardell Gibson. And I remember them saying specifically that if there was so much as an argument between you two and you did not contact them, their offer was that you were to be given a certain amount of money for a one-way ticket to leave town, or that baby would be taken from you. So it didn't matter if it was your fault or whatever. If there was any altercation whatsoever and you did not leave town, that baby was taken.
Did they make any other requests of me that day?
It was to get counseling with Mr. Gibson.
How fast was I to pull that off?
Right away. They wanted counseling to begin.
24, 48, 3 hours, 2 weeks. What do you know what they told me I had to do?
That I don't exactly remember. I do just remember it was right away. You needed to make an appointment and begin.
Since then, do you have any personal knowledge, whether it's because you were running with me or you did your own research, that in fact there is $1,500 available by the state for domestic violence victims that need to flee?
I did not do the research. I just remembered, I don't know if it was 15, 16, 1800. It was just that one amount for a one-way ticket and to get you set up somewhere.
So that's day one that we've left the hospital, although Ezekiel's about 3 days old now. Did I remain, did we continue to live in your home?
You lived there for a short period of time, just a few weeks. At the time I had a roommate, and because of what was going on between yourself and Mr. Gibson, my roommate felt very threatened, and I needed somebody there to help me pay the rent, and I had to ask you to, try to make some arrangements. She did not feel safe living there.
Then you packed up and moved permanently out of state a few months later, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
So that's pretty much the end of your detailed information about Ezekiel, is that correct?
Correct. My direct, information, yes.
Okay. I'm going to wrap this up real quick. For the record, you and I and Mr. Gibson hung out, went and shot pool together, did things together, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Would you say that you had kind of your own friendship with Mr. Gibson?
Yes, I believe I did.
Are you a Christian, Ms. Cohen?
No, I'm not.
Are you a health food professional?
Yes.
Would you tell Judge Ruley what you do for a living?
I have been teaching about raw foods and health of the body for just over 20 years.
Good enough. So you are not a Christian, and you are even more fanatical about health food than I am, and yet Mr. Gibson treated you with a lot more love and grace than me and my friends, wouldn't you say?
He did.
Do you have any theories on why you were not under the gun for your religious beliefs or your food choices?
I don't exactly know what it was, why he took to me. I never spent time alone with him. It was always all of us together. But I did have conversations with him, and I don't know what it was that, appealed to him. I'm young, I'm pretty.
Good enough.
I don't know.
Good enough. You were...
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
That she's young and pretty?
I can
But I
confirm she's
believe that she
pretty.
was young and pretty.
She can give an opinion as to her own state of being. The objection is overruled.
By the time that I decided to, roll out this White House project, although you were out of state, were you still part of my professional circle?
Yes, I was always asked to be part.
Did you think I was mentally ill for pursuing this project?
No, not at all. I
No
believe
further
in pursuing
questions,
one's
Your Honor.
dreams.
I'm sorry, Stacy, thank you. I love you. No further questions.
Thank you.
Mr. Gibson, questions?
Well, hello, Stacy Cohen.
Hello, Wardell Gibson.
It's nice to know that you consider me to be a good friend of yours, even though your testimony is that there was a time when you were both in my home, and you just testified that Denise went down the staircase with you behind me, and for some reason, after some kind of an argument, I ran down the stairs, pushed you into the wall, kicked the door off the hinges. Is that your testimony?
I never claimed that we were good friends. I said we were friends through Denise, and I was in front of you, not behind you, so you ran past me on the stairs.
And I kicked the door off the hinges?
Yes, you did.
Well, I have a number of people in my courtroom right now who are family members and can testify that that never ever happened, because there's never been a time when the door has been kicked off the hinges.
Objection, Your Honor.
Well, they weren't there.
Sustained. The objection sustained. Next question, Mr. Gibson.
You just testified that she, a number of times, and remember you're under oath, under threat of
Yes.
perjury, that you found Denise hiding in bushes. Where were these bushes? On what streets?
I've been gone a long time. I don't exactly remember the street names, but right along the street that you lived on. And also there was a park a block away, and I would find her peeking out from behind trees because she was afraid of you coming along.
And where was I? Did you see me chasing her?
I did not at that time.
So it's just her opinion. You never actually saw me chase her. It was just her saying that I was.
I had seen you run through the house, and no, I did not see you on the street, but I know that we both feared you at times.
Isn't it true that when you said, let me go here. So when you say that she was hiding in bushes, you can't remember the streets, but it was some park, and you don't remember ever seeing me chase her or try to apprehend her. I'm just being clear if that's what you're saying. You're under oath.
She would call me from her phone and ask me to come get her. I had to cut through the neighborhood from where I was. It was a little zigzag of the street. And she would have walked certain distances. So she was always in a different place. And she would be looking for my car and would pop up from bushes and jump into my car from where she was.
Well, let me ask you.
Yes?
Let me ask you this question. If I was so violent, two people are walking down a staircase and I'm behind you and I pushed you against the wall and you said injured you, I kicked the door off of the hinges. My God, woman, why didn't you call the police?
I didn't say you injured me. You just pushed me. I was very afraid. You said you wanted to hurt her, and we fled.
Why didn't you call the police if I had threatened to want to hurt her after kicking a door off the hinges? I mean, it would seem like any reasonable-minded person would do that. I certainly would have.
I know that it turned into that at other times, and that was up to her, not to me.
No, I'm asking
what
you.
She needed to do.
I'm asking you, Miss Cohen, since you're her friend, and she was apparently afraid for her life as I was threatening to hurt her, not you, and I'd kicked a door completely off the hinges, according to you, why you wouldn't call the police? Are you telling the truth, or is this a fabrication?
I am telling the truth because we ran out to the car. You did not run after us that day. And she always was trying to keep the peace. She did love you, and she thought she could make things right.
Okay, so
She didn't want to get things more upset, but I know there's other times that the police were called into the matter.
So, just so that I'm clear, I ran down the stairs, you were in front of me, she had already was in front of you, I pushed you into the wall, I kicked the door off the hinges, and then you walked calmly out to your car with Denise and got in, and I didn't chase after her after you said that I was not trying to hurt you but was trying to hurt her. Why then wouldn't I run out to the car?
I don't know
Objection,
why
Your
you
Honor. She
didn't, but
doesn't
you
know what he
weren't
was
ranting
thinking.
and raving. And we didn't calmly walk to the car. We were both quite shaken. We quickly left the home. We were going for the front door at that time, and we just said, let's get out of here. And that's what we did.
So, that's a small house. If the door was off of the hinges, where did it fall to?
There's a hallway there.
There's
So
a what?
it bumped into the other side of the wall.
Did it knock anything off of the wall?
No.
Why was that? There's
It was-
pictures all on that wall. Why didn't it even fall? If the door had been slammed into the wall after I kicked it, why didn't the pictures fall off the wall?
I don't know why they didn't.
I know
It swung
why, 'cause it
open.
never
Some
happened.
of the wood went over. The door
Objection,
swung
Your Honor.
open. It did not hit anything on the door itself. Did not hit anything on the other side, and I believe the door jamb had swung over, and probably it was higher on the wall.
Wow, that's a lot of speculation. Are you a carpenter, or you ever put in a door?
Why don't you just ask the questions
Actually, I
instead
have.
of being argumentative with the witness?
So your testimony is that the door slammed against the wall, and maybe the door hinge or something stopped it, or whatever that was. And so then what happened? And you went through the dining room and living room and out the door. Where was I, since I was trying to hurt her?
You were downstairs in that hallway in the living room area.
I'm in the living room area now.
That hallway is right there with the living room. It was your
Ah.
dining room, I'm sorry. The
Yeah,
dining room is
yeah,
right
you're-
there.
You're-
And I did not see you move from that area.
Just ask a question.
Okay, so you didn't see me after I'd kicked the door is against the wall or on the floor. You have now gone through the living room or dining room into the living room, and I'm not in pursuit of her because you just said that I was trying to hurt her.
That's what you said. You said you didn't mean to hurt me, you meant to hurt her.
But you just testified that I didn't hurt you. Why would I say I didn't mean to hurt you? Didn't you testify earlier that I had hurt you, had injured you some kind of way?
No, I didn't say you hurt me. I said you pushed me into the wall to get by me, and I was shaken up.
And I said I was trying to hurt her.
You've always been quite nice to me, and you've never wanted to argue with me, and we've always been able to reason with each other. Most of the time. There's other times when you were already off on a tyrant when you didn't stop. And that was on the phone with me. And so you didn't argue with me then, but you politely turned around, even in your madness there, and you said, I didn't
Objection,
mean
Your
to hurt
Honor.
you. I wanted to hurt her.
Madness?
And I had to duck to go under the piece that had fallen from the doorway.
Cohen, he objected. I need to rule
Sorry.
on the objection.
Sorry, I didn't hear it.
You're objecting to her using the word madness?
Yeah, saying that in my madness.
Overruled. You're entitled to give a statement on what you observed.
Let's move on, Ms. Cohen.
No, go ahead and continue what you were saying, please, before he objected, because I couldn't hear all of it, Ms. Cohen.
Since he had already run ahead of me and kicked that door, he was already down in the hallway, which is adjacent to the dining area, and I had to duck because the door was hanging sideways. I ducked under that, and we left the home.
But you just said, Stacy, that I kicked the door completely off the hinges and it had hit up
No.
against the wall. Which is
No,
it?
I didn't say it was completely off. You broke the frame. You kicked the door in, it broke part of the frame, and the door hung over. I didn't say you kicked it totally off the hinges.
That's a physical impossibility, but let's move on. You said that Miss Martin was trying to obtain money by accusing me of being domestic violent, $1,500, $1,800, $2,000, $1,600. You weren't sure.
No, I never said she was trying to claim money.
What did
That's what they offered her. That's what they told her. Child Services said that she needed to do, and they offered that money. They said, this is something we do. It's a one-time, one-way ticket. You're not allowed to come back, or we take the child if you don't leave.
So because they would take the child, she didn't take the money so that she would be able to have money to leave your house as you were moving. Correct?
Nothing came up with you at that time. She didn't need it at that moment because through the birth, everything was going smoothly.
Let's talk about prior to the birth, when she was in labor. She was living at your house or my house. Your testimony said her house, correct?
No, she was living at my home, and I remember the day that she began to go into labor in the morning.
So let me ask you a question. If I'm kicking doors, chasing her, she's hiding in bushes and parks and so on and so forth, why is it, do you think, that she asked me to provide transportation through Ezekiel's godfather, Lenny Slider, and we picked her up and took her to the hospital? Do you remember that?
I'm not understanding what you said. Her
I'm
godfather,
saying
who?
if I was such a violent person that kicked down doors, pushed you against walls, but didn't chase after her in the house after you said that I was trying to hurt her, you walked calmly to the car, and other times that you're alleging that I chased her and she was hiding in bushes and hiding in parks, why then do you think that she allowed me to pick her up and take her to the hospital for delivery of the child?
I drove her to the hospital, I believe.
No, Lenny Slider, who's in the
And-
courtroom, did.
And you, okay, then I'm not remembering that because I do remember you coming up to the hospital.
How did she get to the hospital?
I did not say I calmly walked out the house. There were a number of things that were incorrect about what you had just said.
I think there's a lot
and
of
the
things.
reason she stayed with you, that's before she was pregnant, many things happened. And you two would go back and forth, which happens all the time in domestic violence.
My question to you is, how did Miss Martin get to the hospital to deliver Ezekiel?
I am trying to remember that. I remember her going into labor, and she wanted you to be part of that. You're the father of her child. She wanted you to get along. She wasn't able to live with you during that time.
The question, Miss Cohen, is how did she get to the hospital from your house to University of or OHSU?
My answer is I don't remember. I thought I had drove her, and
Isn't
you
it
had come
true?
later, so I don't remember that part.
Isn't it true that Lenny Slider, Ezekiel's godfather,
That's
took her
enough.
to the hospital?
That's enough. She
I
answered,
don't know who
remember.
he is.
Next question, please.
Okay.
Next question.
So let me ask you this, Miss Cohen, since I was such a violent person and had her running and hiding in bushes and knocking doors down and tearing down door frames and all these kinds of things that you're testifying to under perjury.
It's not under perjury, sir.
Yeah, when you testify in a court,
under
you lie,
oath.
it's called perjury.
Ask the question, would you please?
Why then did you meet with me on a trip back from Florida in a motel room off of Martin Luther King Avenue around the Lloyd Center with Ezekiel and I, trying to recruit me for a network marketing company that you were involved in if I was such a violent, crazy person, which you used the word mad?
You have a very loving side, and you have a violent side.
How would you
I don't know if you're schizophrenic. I'm not a doctor. I can't say if you're bipolar, schizophrenic, or split personality. I don't know. But at times you were quite
Objection,
wonderful.
Your
I
Honor.
did not meet you in that hotel room alone. And you showed an interest. I told you what I was doing. You showed an interest, and I presented the program to you. And you had a choice to join or not.
So it's your testimony today that a person that you think might be schizophrenic or bipolar or all these kinds of things, that you would meet with that person who you believe chased Denise Martin in bushes and doors and all these kinds of things, yet you would meet with me in a motel room with Ezekiel and offer me into your business. Is that your testimony?
It was an offer for you would be a rep in the company. You would not work directly in me. So if you were also a very good businessman, and when you were working and in the right frame of mind, you were very good. And I was trying to help you by giving you some work where you could make some money and do something for yourself.
This violent, crazy kind of guy. How would you know what person I would be if I was schizophrenic or bipolar that would show up in that motel room? Weren't you concerned about that?
I was not alone with you in that room.
Who else was in the room other than Ezekiel?
I did not meet you in a hotel room alone.
Who did you meet me with then, Miss Cohen?
I don't recall.
You don't recall. You recall meeting me and Ezekiel in a motel room, this crazed out person that crashes doors and all this kind of thing, but you can't remember who the other person was in the motel room. Isn't it true that there was nobody else in that motel room?
You're getting
I never
argumentative
even
again.
said I
I'm gonna
remember
terminate
meeting
the
you in the
con-
hotel
I'm
room.
gonna
I
terminate
do
this,
remember
Mr.
having that
Gibson.
conversation
Miss
with
Cohen,
you,
stop.
but I don't.
Ms. Cohen,
Yes.
stop. Ask a question, please.
Miss Cohen, Miss Martin said that we, on a number of occasions, went to social gatherings at pool halls. Is that what you said?
I said I do remember that.
Was I crazy and violent then?
There was a time at one of the places where you were upset at her about something, and you and her began to have an argument, and it got smoothed over. I stayed out of it, but I was there at the time and remember you beginning to get upset.
So it's your testimony that you would go to a bar where there's a pool table with some crazy guy that's now we're drinking beer and wine, and you would do that with all the kinds of things that you have maliciously testified to that are not true?
You were in a good space. It was your birthday. We had planned a special day for you. I decorated the car. I was the limo driver in a sense, and we had the whole back seat dressed up, and we were hoping to make your birthday a special time. And a public place would be the perfect place.
You were the limo driver?
Yes, for your birthday. I had a basket with champagne, wine or champagne, 2 glasses for you, and I drove you and Denise and myself around for the evening.
I must be bipolar. I have no recollection of that at all.
You must.
Okay, any further questions of this witness?
I'm finished with this witness, Your Honor.
Anything further, Ms. Martin?
I need a moment, just a moment to collect my thought. Ms. Cohen, did the state of Oregon say I could just have this $1,500, or if I needed to flee, they would provide it for me?
Yes, it was if you needed to flee.
So,
That's enough on this issue.
Okay.
Next, anything else?
I think we're good.
All right, thank you, Ms. Cohen. That concludes your testimony.
Thank you, sir.
I need some more water and a bathroom break soon, Your Honor. Where are we?
Well, one goes with the other. The
Yes.
more water you drink, the more bathroom breaks you need.
I know, but it also helps me stay focused mentally. It's important. I'm tired. I can do it in 5 minutes, I promise.
Let's take a 10-minute break.
Thank you. And shall I get my own water? Or is that something somebody has to do for me? I'd be happy to fill it up myself.
Do so.
Thank you.
Richard.